Welcome to Your Story video series brought to you by the Public Speakers Association. Our amazing guest star today is Matthew Pollard. Matthew, why don't you take it from here?
Well, thank you very much, Tony, and I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm very excited to share my story actually, because a lot of speakers, I think, assume that they have to have the gift of the gab to get up and speak in front of a stage of people, or maybe they have resigned themselves so they're not going to be a great speaker from stage because perhaps they're introverted, or because they're a little bit quieter than everyone else, or they don't have that charismatic personality. So I think that the reason why I was really excited about sharing my story today is because what I find is that these are hurdles that especially introverts set themselves all the time. And I want people out there to know that you can be introverted, you can struggle with selling yourself as a speaker, at presenting from stage, even from networking, and then turn all that around with quite a few, with strategies to make yourself successful and still remain authentic when doing so. So my backstory is that growing up, I had a reading speed of a sixth grader in late high school. I had quite horrible acne and I was hugely introverted. As a matter of fact, I never wanted to really get in front of a group of people or sell or any of that sort of thing. I took a job after getting through high school and getting in the top 20% of the state. I made this decision that I needed to take a year off. School was really exhausting for me and I needed to discover what I really wanted to do. And within that year, well, within the first few weeks of that year, I took a job at a real estate agency, and my boss came up to me and he said, "Matt, I've got some bad news. We're going to have to lay you off." Now, a lot of people, when I say that I worked in a real estate agency, they assume that I'm just the guy out front selling. It wasn't the case. I was the guy in the back office with a look on my face saying, "Don't talk to me. I'm here to find myself for the year." I'd worked there for a few weeks. The company was shutting down. I was getting laid off, and it was Australia. So Australia is very different to the United States, where we actually take our summer break and our Christmas break at the same time. It's summer there. So people go on holidays from the 20th of December right through to the 15th to 20th of January. And because of that, there really wasn't many jobs to be had. As a matter of fact, the only jobs that I could really find were commission-only sales jobs. And as an introvert, that was terrifying for me. But my father had worked 80 hours a week for as long as I can remember, really, to succeed and pay the bills. So because of that, I wasn't exactly going to tell my father, "Look, unfortunately, I'm not able to pay my way." That's what I said I would do. So I took one of these commission-only jobs, and after 5 days of product training, I have to say this is quite terrifying. I went to a street of shops, and I was about to walk into the first one and had this solemn realization that no one had actually taught me how to sell. I didn't know the first thing about what to say. So I walked in anyway, and very quickly afterwards, I got told no, or I got rejected. And 93 doors it took me to make my first sale. So that's 93 doors of getting told to get a real job, getting sworn at, getting told no, getting rejected. I mean, Brian Tracy talks about the fact that being rejected in a sale is a very similar feeling in our psychology as being spanked as a child. And it happened 93 times in the first day before I made my first sale. Now, I made about $70 in that sale, and I remember I walked out and I was absolutely ecstatic, for about 45 seconds. And then I had this realization of, oh God, I got to do this again tomorrow, the next day, the rest of the year. For me, that wasn't okay, but I couldn't exactly pick up a Brian Tracy book or a Zig Ziglar book. It would have taken me a year to read it, let alone apply the strategies. But I did discover YouTube. And for people out there that think of YouTube as just a great place for cat videos, there's actually a lot more to it than that. And I actually found or discovered that sales was a process. Now, for a lot of introverts, especially out there, it's easy to believe that this is a natural gift of the gab process, just like you think with speaking and networking, which we'll talk about shortly. But for me, I had to believe it was a system. I had no option. My back was against the wall. And if it hadn't have been a systematic process, then it wouldn't be something that I could learn, like I could learn accounting, or like a lawyer could learn how to learn the law. And I was going to suck. That year was going to suck. So I had to believe that it was a process. And day after day, I focused on fixing one element of the process, or mastering one element of the process. Soon after, it was 72 doors before my next sale, and then 48, and then 23, and then 12, and then 3. And it was about 6 weeks later, my manager pulled me into the office. He said, "Matt, I have to admit, I'm blown away. I just checked the report, and you're actually currently ranked as the #1 salesperson in our company," which just happened to be the largest sales and marketing company in the Southern Hemisphere. So that took 6 weeks. Very shortly after that, I got promoted, and I found myself in front of a team of salespeople, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I have to say, but most of those people left. However, I started to understand what it took to train people, what I considered my introvert's method to selling. And very shortly after that, my sales team outsold the other sales teams. So I got promoted again. I got promoted like 7 times in the space of 12 months. And I ended up the state manager of the largest sales and marketing company in the Southern Hemisphere. And that was their head office state. So it was quite an honor, but I made this decision that I felt that I could do it better. So I decided to go out into business for myself. And I made this decision that because telecommunications is all I'd known, that I was going to go into telecommunications instead. So I opened up a telecommunications company, and within the space of about 3 years, we were listed as the #1 brokership for business-to-business cell phones in the country. Fast forward a few more years, and I was listed, I'd been responsible for 5 multi-million-dollar success stories in everything from telecommunications right through to nationally accredited education. We ended up with 3,500 business owners as students in our last educational facility. So we attained rapid growth in everything we did, and I started to get a reputation for helping people for creating rapid growth businesses. So when I moved to the United States, I made the decision that that's what I was going to focus my attention on, helping other people obtain rapid growth. For me, business became a toy and it was my favorite toy to play with, right? Because for me, working in a business for 3 years meant that I did the rapid growth thing, but then I had to manage that growth and put in all the systems and processes. And while I could do all of that, what I really loved was actually going through the process of creating that rapid growth, which was really the first few months of the business. And then after that, the trajectory was already built. I'd really have to get in the way of the rapid growth after that. So I made a decision that that's what I was going to do, and I was going to help people obtain rapid growth. And I was looking for a way to help people and get people to contact me. So I built an online website, and I didn't even know how to change the word "the" to the word "they" on a website. 9 months later, as an internationally award-winning blogger, I was listed by Evan Carmichael as one of the most retweeted business coaches on Twitter. Everything else kind of came together from that. But there were a couple of strategic pieces about how I got my first clients. What I realized is that if I spoke from stage, yes, I could get speaker fees. However, I also managed to get coaching clients and academy students as a result of that. And I think that's a lot of what speakers really struggle with. They're like, how do I make money from speaking? Well, that's like going into McDonald's and them only selling burgers. They make most of their money out of the fries and the drink. But the burger is really about, the people come for the burgers, but it's the additional items that allow them to make money. Very similar to a speaker. If you just sell speaking, you're missing all of these other financial opportunities. So for me, the biggest thing that I did is I created a coaching program, and it was only a 6-week program so that I could get people to obtain rapid growth, but I would never sell it from stage. And I built an online academy, which was a 9-week program that taught people through the process of obtaining rapid growth in their business. Everything from the idea formation to creating a unified message that excites and inspires, to creating a niche, packaging, pricing, networking, selling, right through to all of the online strategies. But again, I never sold it from stage. What I would do is as an introvert, I had to deliver stories. So I delivered 3 strong and powerful stories that educated people on the syllabus, but also inspired people to want to know more about it and saw me as the only logical choice. And that's one of the things that keynote presenters really need to focus on, sharing great stories, because people remember 22 times more information when embedded into a story. And it also creates a natural resonance between the teller of the story and the listener of the story. And because of that, I developed, as an introvert, a wonderful method of developing a relationship with the audience, developing a rapport with the audience. And then at the end, I'd say something as simple as, now you'll notice most speakers generally have things that they sell behind the stage. I don't do that. I think that you've come to an event to see me speak, and you deserve to just have great information. One of the things that I do have, though, is if you do want a 5-step process that help you create a unified message and discover your niche of willing to buy clients, which is what I talk about, right? So we're not defining ourselves as a speaker or as a business coach, because you go to a networking event and somebody says, I've done that before. I've worked with someone like that before. It didn't really work for me. And then you feel like you're shoving something down someone's throat, as opposed to, on the flip side, explaining something like, I call myself the rapid growth guy. I have other clients that call themselves the China success coach. And people are like, what exactly is that? And then you get to explain it on their invitation. And I teach people how to do that. And it's a little free template that I give away after they see me speak. And I just take their card and I will then send that to them. For the people that are listening, you can get that same template at matthewpollard.com/growth. Now, when they download that template or when they give me their card, they then become part of my mailing list. And I've got this very structured system that then books them in for phone calls. And then I can then give them great value for 20 minutes and then ask them a question, which is as simple as, would you like me to direct you to some great free content that I created to help you on your path towards rapid growth? Would you like me to talk to you about my academy? And would you like me to talk to you about what working with me one-on-one would look like? And very, very quickly with that statement, generally what I found is most people went for the academy or working with me one-on-one. Before I had the academy, more people went to the free stuff because they felt that they couldn't afford me, or my closure rate on the sales was a little bit less because people had to pay a premium price. Once I built the academy, my closure rate went through the roof. So then what I did is I started creating distribution methods for getting more and more email addresses. So I speak from a lot of stages, and yeah, I love getting paid to speak from stages, but I know my niche. It's service provider businesses. So I target associations of small business owners. I target user conferences that corporates have of the service providers that deliver their products and services. And I target entrepreneurial conferences and small business conferences. I also have a book called The Introvert's Edge, which is a great book that is now in 600 Barnes & Noble stores across the country. It's in bookstores from Fifth Avenue through to airport bookstores in Melbourne, Australia, that teach introverts how to succeed in sales. It teaches them how to storytell, which is hugely powerful from speaking from stage as well. But again, that allows me to get more email addresses. But it all started by me saying, I want to teach people these 3 strategies, understanding that niche marketing, unified messaging, and sales systemization were all commodity words. So saying, what's the higher level benefit of that? And separating myself so I didn't fit that e-speaker profile, that little tick box that everybody has, by categorizing ourselves. And then we've got to explain why we're different. I just said I was the rapid growth guy, and people are like, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. You're the different person. We're going to pay a premium to speak at our conference. And then delivering that from stage and then converting those people into other products and services. Now those other products and services funded all the things that I use to build my business. And now I have quite a substantial business. I've got over 1,000 videos that go out on social media. I have an online academy. I've got the book, The Introvert's Edge, and I've got podcasts, and I've been on some of the biggest podcasts in the world. But it all started by saying, I'm not just going to be a speaker. I'm going to do these 3 things. And the coaching one-on-one, a lot of speakers don't want to do that. I did it for a very short period of time. Now I do very little clients and focus on just pushing people to the academy. But I did it to make sure the program works so I could leverage it across, so that I knew that the cancellation rate and the success rate of the academy would be well beyond the industry standard. And now I just speak and direct people towards the academy. But what I would suggest for everybody that's watching today, think about the unified message that you can use to separate yourself from all of the other speakers out there. Then otherwise you're just going to be always seeing yourself as a commodity and focused on price as your only differentiator. And there are always going to be a speaker with more experience than you that's going to match your price, and then they'll get the gig. So come up with that unified message that separates you from everyone else. Understand that you don't need to be a speaker for all conferences. Focus on a niche like I do, and then create a sales system that works to not only get yourself the gig, but a sales system afterwards that allows you to further monetize. I find no one can compete with me because I can not only speak at a conference, and I've got a great system for getting myself speaking gigs, but then I monetize the conference like crazy, and I use all of the money from that to leverage my business to the next level. And now I really don't have to invest in my business much at all because the entire business is created, and I've now created this ecosystem that no one can compete with. So it's really worth doing, but it comes in steps, and it comes from saying, I'm not just a speaker. What business offering can I offer? And on top of that, how do I deliver that to an ROI? And how do I message that in a way that doesn't get me seen as a commodity?